Have you seen the Wuthering Heights movie? I haven't, but I have read some of the commentaries and reviews on it. And what I found out was that a lot of the people who read the book before watching the movie were not impressed by the interpretation of the movie. How about Send Help? Send Help, it's a movie that came out this year, I think, and I did a review on my channel if you want to check it out. It is one of my favorite movies this year. Send Help is a movie about two people that get stranded on an island, and it has all the parts. It had all the parts and all the ingredients to become a romance, but instead it became a thriller. These two movies that I have listed, as well as other movies, are examples of what a director can do. I have heard so many writers, so many script writers complain that the vision that he had for a story is not what the director executed. So, after the story has been written, a director can influence the perception of that story, and that is the key to a happy life. Today, I'm going to be speaking about how assuming the position of a director can help you have a happier life. It is true that there are aspects of our lives that we can write, but there are so many aspects of our life that are outside our control. Directors can take a story and through focus on certain imageries, through focus on lighting, through focus on the atmosphere of the movie, they can change a theme of a movie, they can change the genre of a movie. Just like the Send Help movie, it had all the workings of a romance, but it took a path to becoming a thriller. And that is the same way that we can take the rough material of the script of our life and make it into something that might not even resemble the original script. So think about the story of our lives. The basic story has already been written by our parents, by, by our environment, by God, by the fates, by whatever. But we can take that raw material and through lighting, through imagery, through angles, camera angles in quotes, we can take the story and make it something entirely different. Just like directors, we can decide what part of our life we want to choose to focus on, what part of our life we want to capture, what part of the story and the hand that we have been given that we want to emphasize. Just like directors, we can decide. I have talked about this on my channel before, but it is very important that we control to a large extent the narrative of our lives, the narrative that we tell ourselves. Like directors, we might have so much ideas for a story, so much ideas for the interpretation of the story, but we might be limited by budget constraints. Like me now, I'm limited by budget constraints. I do not have artificial lighting to make my video more interesting or whatnot. I do not have the budget to make my YouTube videos more interesting, but I am making do with the tools that I have, right? And so it is the same for the stories of our lives, right? And what I mean is that we can create more whimsy in our days. We can take a story that would have been boring, like a boring life, a boring couple of days, and infuse it with whimsy and make it more interesting and make it more exciting. We can don our jewelry, we can dress up, we can plan outfits. You know what I'm saying? We can do all this and make our lives more interesting. We can intentionally take the raw material of our life, what would have been a couple of boring days, and intentionally infuse it with whimsy. For example, for my YouTube channel, I have this idea at the back of my mind. I've created this story, this what do they call it? I've forgotten the word they call it. Okay, let me see. I've forgotten what it's called when they say this person has insane. Oh my god. Okay, I forgot. Let me see. Insane law, right? So I have created this law for my channel, and this story at the back of my mind that I am a planet, that my channel is a planet that is so far away from other life forms, other civilizations, and that with each YouTube each YouTube video I make, I am broadcasting over space and trying to reach for people, like trying to send out message into the universe, and connect to my people. That is the story I have at the back of my mind anytime I make videos, that this is me at the, I don't know what they call those places where people send, where astronomers send messages. So this is me sending out messages into space, trying to connect with other life forms, other civilizations out there. So that is the story at the back of my mind, and it makes YouTube very interesting for me. It's the same thing for our lives, right? It's the same thing for the stories of our life. We might not have had exciting stories, we might not have had the best raw material given to us, but we can choose, like a director, to focus on certain scenes. We can amplify certain scenes. For example, let me bring it to the stories of our lives rather than YouTube. Let me zoom out into the story of our life. So say someone wants to be partnered, someone is single and really searching, right? As a director, what will you do? Like, you can zoom in on all the things that they have done wrong, or all the things that have gone wrong while they are single, and how bad the dating pool is. You can zoom in on that. You can choose to tell a story from that angle, right? Or you can make it into an adventure of sorts, and all the friends they meet on the way, all the people that they thought would be their forever people that ended up not being their forever people. It can be a different story based on what the director focuses on, based on the angles that the director focuses on. So yeah, the director of your life, the story of your life, for the most part, is out of your control. A lot of it is out of your control. Otherwise, everyone will have the best story ever. But we can direct, we can decide what to focus on. We can decide from that manuscript, from that script, what to focus on, what to highlight. We can decide the lighting we want. We can decide so many things, the angles. I don't know all the directorial terms, but you get the point. I believe that you get the point. We can decide what to show, what to focus on, what to highlight. This is why you can have people with similar stories who have different outlooks on their life. This is why you can have two people, with one person having a better life, like objectively, than another person, whereas the other person who has the objectively not so great life can be happier than the other person, right? It depends on their directorial it all depends on the camera of the director. What does the director focus on? What are you focusing on? What are you highlighting in your life? How are you creating whimsy? Imagine whimsy to be the lighting, the soft lighting around your life. So it can be like fluorescent lights. Like, you can have a story that, well, it's objectively not so great, right? But depending on your lighting, maybe you use fluorescent lighting, right? It can make it so jarring. It can make it into a horror. I'm not saying that we should be too delusional and just ignore everything, right? I am not saying that. But for cases that are out of our control, right? For cases that there's not much we can do, all that matters is the lighting, all that matters is our focus, all that matters is how we interpret said story. So I want us to really understand this concept, because it's going to help us in our lives. It's going to help us in the interpretation of our life, which I believe that is the most important fact. It's one of the most important factors for whether you have a happy life or not, right? It's one of the most important factors for whether you have a happy life or not. Some of the ways that a director can change the theme of a story, the genre of a story, is by focusing on the visual and the lighting of the story, by focusing on color schemes. And how can that apply in our life? Maybe on days where you feel so bad. I've talked about this on my channel before. Maybe on days where you feel a bit gloomy, you can dress up. You can put on jewelry. You don't need to go overboard, but just jewelry, donning on a jewelry, a simple piece of jewelry can change your mood. That can be your color scheme. You can put on fun colors. You can put on colors that are bright. You can do that in order to focus at your directorial lens on something other than the gloom you feel. Other ways that a director can change the theme of a story is through the sound. It's through the music, right? The score of a movie is generally the score of a movie generally influences our perception of a movie, right? You've seen some of those movies where they say putting a laughing soundtrack behind the movie, right? Putting a laughing soundtrack on over this movie, or like for Friends, I've seen where they removed the laughing soundtrack and it was a bit disconcerting. It was not like the Friends that I knew, right? And so how can this play into our lives? By playing music. Let's say you have a bad day, you can put on music that you can actually put on sad music when you're sad, because I think that it will help you process your emotions. Or maybe you have to do dishes, you can put on music that is um, from a dialect, from a language that you do not understand, romantic music. You can put on action music rather, to ginger you, to excite you to doing chores. So just think of your life as a script that you have to direct, right? And those are little ways to infuse whimsy into your life, little ways to guide the perception of your life and make for a happier life. So this is not to say that we ignore everything. This is not to say that there are not lives and experiences that can be horrific. And I think that for those kind of lives, for those kind of experiences, when it is truly horrific, to put a soft glow over it even makes it more depressing, right? It even makes it more depressing. But the good thing about our lives is that until it ends, there can be part two, there can be several parts, the story continues until we take our last breath. The story continues. So if you're still alive and right now you're living a horror, it doesn't stop you from someday living a romance. It doesn't stop you from someday living an adventurous life and movie. It doesn't stop you from someday living a Ghibli, I think that is a Ghibli type life. It doesn't stop you. So that is just something that I want us to take with us, that we are the directors of our life more than we are the writers. We can be co-writers, but for the most part, a lot of the script has been written, but we can decide how to direct it. We can decide what to focus on. We can decide what to we can decide how to light up our lives. We can decide to have a character driven story rather than a plot driven story. We can decide to focus inward rather than outward, and so much more. That will be all for this video. If you have enjoyed it, please like and subscribe, and I will see you in my next video.